It's always a great feeling when something you adore is getting the attention and love you believe it deserves. For me, that's been Elden Ring. The community around this game has been nothing short of spectacular in my experience. People are making art, maidenless memes that get upwards of 10,000 likes on Twitter and Reddit. The subreddit itself has over 1 million subscribers now in such a short span of time. And I just love seeing all the community creations and videos being made on YouTube across all platforms. Most of us playing and engaging with Elden Ring have been having the time of our lives. And the reason I bring that up is because, well, there's a lot of hot takes from people who are super jealous of that.
I am 100% sincere when I say, without any sarcasm, that Elden Ring can suck my dick.
Excuse me!
So you know this video is going to be good, but their opinions can't ruin something as pristine and beautiful as Elden Ring. So instead, a lot of these people just kind of flail about making incoherent rants in the vain hope that Miyazaki will add an easy mode at some point.
The very first thing that the Ackman points out I find untrue is the fact that when people have ranted about Elden Ring and claimed, oh, it should have difficulty options, like this is a bad thing to advise. There is nothing wrong with the difficulty option. From Software just wants to do it to maintain the difficulty loop and reputation and feel of Dark Souls. That's why. And fans are hardcore about this and would outrage, so they don't do it. However, it's not a bad gameplay design choice. So to signify this statement as if it's bad just because it's a difficulty option, don't you think that's overdoing it? You realize that many games have difficulty options. This helps with accessibility for people who have a hard time with combat systems like this. This can also help you master it, so when you play on harder difficulties, you can handle it. In Devil May Cry, it has difficulty options like Dante Must Die mode. Fun fact, in Japan they launched the game with difficulty options that were direct towards what the game had entailed. However, in America, they hid that. The medium mode is actually the hard mode. They actually went there, so the game is even harder than you think. And it's already hard, so good thing it has difficulty options to balance this. However, From Software games don't have that. That's a part of their appeal and charm. Yet people go on and on about how it's wrong to ask for such a thing. And it's just ridiculous. They are so attached to From Software's design that they are against a simple gameplay feature that could actually improve its gameplay design. It's ridiculous, basically making the accusation that a difficulty option is so bad when it's not really that big a deal. Many games have done it and it can help with gameplay balance, really.
That's right, we're gonna be looking at the
Hottest Elden Ring takes in town.
So strap on your Estus flask and take a swig every time I show you something stupid. Probably the hot takes that blew up the most were what these three devs said about Elden Ring. And these people were from Guerrilla Games, Ubisoft, and Xanax Software. The fact that Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game user experience. My life is a lie. Nor PC graphics, stability, and performance apparently. Nor quest design really. Now what these people are really saying is, I'm jealous of From Software's success because it overshadows my own.
Interesting. Now there is an example, a comment that was brought up. I think it's interesting. No quest design. Well, Elden Ring doesn't have traditional quest markers, and Kingdom Come Deliverance is more realistic with its gameplay, like old school games are. It doesn't have quest markers. Does this make the game revolutionary? No. They did this back in the day. It's more like a return to form. But it also doesn't have quests in the traditional sense either. So if people say that, maybe they have a good reason. It's not like Fallout, where you'll meet an NPC, they have an actual routine. You'll talk to them with dialogue options and maybe even go on a quest because of them or with them. Elden Ring is a game where people stand around, no routines or anything like a linear game, and they say one quote of dialogue. So quests are different in that sense. Maybe that's why people stated such a thing.
Now what these people are really saying is, I'm jealous of From Software's success because it overshadows my own?
What are you talking about? You made a video about the jealousy of the fact that you couldn't play the newest Halo, and even wondered why smaller YouTube channels could do that, and you were bigger, and you brought that up quite extensively. So why turn around and say I'm jealous of From Software's success because it overshadows my own? No, game devs have innovated where Elden Ring did not, and yet it gets all the critical acclaim anyway. And those games do not get near the same level, and yet they actually innovated, where again, Elden Ring did not. So it's not just, jealousy. It's shock at the fact that a game could recycle the same combat, not do much with its open world design, and still get a 97. So really, who could really say half of the games are as bad as we claim them to be? If even a game that recycles its combat and assets and doesn't do anything with its open world design, doesn't do much with its open world design, can get a 97 and be called one of, if not the single greatest video game of all time.
I am insecure and questioning my career and design choices. Hey genius, maybe somebody's just better at making video games than you. Maybe there's thousands of people better at making videos than me. Let's just be happy for them. Why is it so hard?
So with that logic, let's just be happy for them. Okay, why don't you be happy with smaller YouTubers who could play Halo and you couldn't? Because sometimes people have issues with things. So if people see Elden Ring and they can't help but critique it, does it really matter? Here, I'll give you a cheat sheet. No, it doesn't matter.
Comparison is the thief of joy. And wait, reviewers don't care about PC graphics? Have we been playing the same game?
Of course, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Remember when I stated the fact that the Ackman falsely represents people who dislike the game? You would show the most extreme examples. What about videos from artists like Never Knows Best? He reasonably deducted what he didn't like about the game. He didn't just say, it's shitty, it's trash. So why don't you use those examples too instead of using the easiest ones because it's debatable? They put up a pretty good fight, and you're holding the real points back to make it look like people who don't like it are just people who think it's trash. That's falsely representing the other side of the argument to put up your own. Also, when you did show people some of what even the most extreme examples aren't even that big a deal anyway. Like for instance, when the guy says, it's a terrible example of game design. How is that a bad statement? He didn't say, it's just trash, it's shit. He said it was a terrible example of game design. Again, From Software fans are so over the top when it comes to anyone critiquing their crown jewel Elden Ring. It used to be Dark Souls, then it was Bloodborne. Honestly, it still is Bloodborne. For a short time, it was even Scholar of the First Sin, which split From Software fans, but it was still critically acclaimed. Now it's Elden Ring. And they can't take one person stating this game ain't all that. This game is not revolutionary. This game is average. It's just an action game. What makes this game so special? Look at all these other games that innovated in its open world design. This game didn't do that, so why is it being acclaimed? What is wrong with this way of thinking? People said this about future Far Cries and said those weren't as good as Far Cry 3. People said this about other action games and they make sequels. Sometimes they don't like it. Even games where reviewers and journalists are split on. So who cares? Why do From Software fans go off the wall crazy over this line of thinking when it's like any other game? They could care less, but when it's their crown jewel, it's such a problem for them. And look at that same user interface, the same RPG leveling system, the same fundamental combat mechanics. Oh wait, this is Dark Souls again, only now it's open world. So it's suddenly different? And what did it do with its open world design? Well, you fight, level up, fight some bosses and dungeons, okay. Isn't that what you do in a linear action game? If the answer is yes, then what did this game do to innovate? What makes this different from all these other From Software games? The fact that you're doing those same things, but now it's open world. While you're doing that same thing? First off, what this person brought up, because of course he brings up the most extreme examples to falsely represent the other side of the argument.
UX also stands for user experience and isn't a review about the user's experience with the game?
No!
I mean, isn't Oh, Actman hurt himself in his confusion. To me, these developer tweets are like way out of left field because most devs on Twitter celebrate each other's success. Luckily, the memes that came out of this were just pure gold. Okay, clear. It's okay to dislike a video game that I like. It's okay to enjoy something that I do not.
Dog model.
This goes without saying. What I care about is if your reasons are good. Unlike this next guy who posted one of the worst Elden Ring reviews I've ever seen.
Here's the thing. The reason why people said what they said about Elden Ring is because, dude, out of all these open world games that give you choice and options, such as Oblivion, you can actually change the questline in different ways, go on different quests with different outcomes, and of course, even kill important quest characters, having full choice as to what you can do in-game. Some of these open worlds are more than combat-based games. They are life simulators. They let you do all kinds of things in its open world environment. What does Elden Ring allow you to do in its open world? You fight bosses and enemies just like other From Software games, just like Dark Souls 1. So if you're doing that same thing, but in other open worlds like Oblivion or Skyrim, you have more freedom. You can even make a home and even start a family in Skyrim. And in Fallout New Vegas, you have so many dialogue options, choices that change entire quest lines, people around who have AI and routines. It's a true open world experience, and you can even argue that it's a great RPG separate from its open world. You could say it's a great open world game, or you could say it's a great RPG, or you could say both. What can you say about Elden Ring? It's an action game, a game where you fight with the combat system of Dark Souls. Wow, incredible. You do the same thing except now you're in a more open environment. But if you're still doing the same thing you do in an action game, then when developers start criticizing because people say it's the greatest game of all time, that's a good reason to critique it. All these amazing games like Infamous Second Son or Horizon Zero Dawn or the new Spider-Man. Horizon Zero and the new Spider-Man are open world games that do amazing things in their open world environments. They're pretty good for their time. However, they get nowhere near the same level of praise this game got, and yet all you're doing in this game is what you already did in Dark Souls. So yeah, if you notice such a huge difference in acclaimness for a game like things like this, you would start asking questions, especially developers. They made open world games that have all this different stuff in it. Places, choices, sometimes even dialogue options. And you come to Elden Ring, this is what gets all the critical acclaimness. A game that basically is an action game that lets you fight and stuff like other action games. So what makes that so revolutionary? What makes that so groundbreaking? It didn't break new ground, so why is this being seen as such? That's why when developers make open world games that actually let you interact with the environment and feel more like open worlds, when you get a game that is at its core an action game, and that's what gets all the praise, it's not even open world. It's really an action RPG game. It didn't do anything with its open world design, aside from populating its environment with stuff to fight. That's not open world. That's what an action game does. That's probably why they're shocked it got so much acclaimness. I am too. It is shocking. What did this game do that was so groundbreaking? You fight like an action game. Bam. Except now you're fighting, but the world is more open and suddenly it's different? You're still doing the same thing, so how is that different? That's another reason why developers were shocked. The fact that game reviewers gave Elden Ring a 97 Metacritic score is proof that people overhype games, especially game journalists and reviewers, who praise a game all because it does what an action game does. You fight, but now that's it. But now that it's doing that same thing, but it's more open, suddenly it's one of the best games of all time. That's overblowing it. How? It gets a 97 when it's not different than Dark Souls 3, especially combat-wise. So even if you separate its open world, that's the same combat they've already used in Dark Souls 1 through 3 and modified a bit. And I stress the word a bit in Bloodborne and Sekiro. It's the same combat, even if you separate the open world. They even have the same UI and the same assets and even animations. There are people who are playing the game online now who claim the bosses are recycled even. That's a whole nother conversation, but yes, they have reused assets and animations already present in prior games too. So when I hear game developers say it's mind-blowing that it gets praised, but games like Horizon Zero Dawn are just obscure and underappreciated, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Those games are like the new Spider-Man or even Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima innovated because it has a unique and profound combat system you will not see in any other game in the modern era. The new Spider-Man is amazing because its mechanics and movement is unique and incredible, especially for the time that it came out. It has a unique combat system in a huge open world with people, quests, and activities. It's fun and it's incredible. Then you have this relic, this masterpiece of a game, Horizon Zero Dawn. In this game, you fight sentient metallic robotic entities in a huge, vast open world. With so much content, areas, places, and features, it's mind-blowing. You can even have a few dialogue options. There are a few at least. And the game world is populated with things to do you actually want to do and experience. It is one of the single best modern experiences gaming has to offer, yet it is obscure and underrated and underappreciated. It did receive critical acclaimness, and it did sell decently. However, Elden Ring blows all of these games out of the water in terms of critical acclaimness and reception, yet it didn't innovate. It has the same combat, and its open world is large, but only has just enemies to fight in it. And it's not a traditional open world experience, and yet it's demolishing everything that actually did innovate in their open worlds. They have things populating their open worlds. They have things in their open world environments. They have stuff populating the environment. They have quest lines and characters, and it's amazing. They innovate in their world design and gameplay. Even the gameplay for these games is unique in comparison to other games. This gameplay is what you've seen already in every other Dark Souls title. Those games, such as Horizon Zero Dawn, have unique combat systems you can separate from any other game. Or Ghost of Tsushima, that combat system you can separate from any other game. Or especially the Spider-Man game. It's unique, even from Arkham. People said it's like Arkham. Wrong. They are wrong. It is its own unique combat system. Plus, technically, Rocksteady got their combat from the PS2 Spider-Man games, so that's all the more inaccurate. Those games have unique combat systems you can separate from other games. So even the combat system of Elden Ring is nothing special. So they didn't innovate there. But let's look at Fallout, Skyrim, or Assassin's Creed. These games actually populate their open world environment, giving you things to do, places to explore that are more than just places to go. They have quests, people, NPCs with routines. They actually feel alive. They aren't just there for the sake of it feeling open world. You can interact with it. In these games, you interact with the environment and you're immersed into the open world. Look at Elden Ring. What can you do in Elden Ring? Can you do in Elden Ring what you do in Fallout or Skyrim or Assassin's Creed? No. Those games actually let you do things in its open world environment. Those games take advantage of their open world design. Elden Ring doesn't take advantage of its open world design because it took the open world design and just let you do the same thing you do in a linear action game with it. So it's not even taking advantage of the fact that it's open world, making you have that feeling of the fact that this could have just been a linear game. Like, this didn't even need to be open world.
Yeah, I'm returning this utter crap because this game is terrible.
I don't care what anybody says.
You can tell someone's angry when they're just like shaking the fucking game case in the video.
Quick upload.
So let's summarize this guy's very brief experience with Elden Ring and examine the reasons why he thinks it's trash.
Coming off the heels of my Elden Ring sucks video, because the game does suck. It's a terrible example of game design.
Elden Ring is bad because it doesn't follow game design principles.
I got all the way through that beginning of the game. It was very bland. So I get to that guy with the mask. I accidentally attack him. He kills me.
So you arrived in Limgrave and immediately attacked the first non-hostile NPC. So you must have ignored the talk button at the bottom of the screen when you walked up to him, as well as his non-threatening pose and lack of wielding any kind of weapon.
I respawn right in front of him. He kills me. Respawn. He kills me.
You didn't attack him on
What
accident.
this person brought up Of course, he brings up the most extreme examples to falsely represent the other side of the argument. However, even with what this person stated, he stated something that was actually true. You see, when you play Oblivion, you're plopped into this huge world, and you can walk up to anybody and just slay them for the sake of testing out game mechanics, or just because you want to for whatever the reason might be. It's gameplay choice and freedom immediately. However, in Elden Ring, it actually restricts this and gets you killed immediately. And Ackman defends this by stating, "Oh, you should have known, especially if you've played other Dark Souls-like games." But honestly, when you make it open world, people are expecting that freedom, and if it's not there, it's a lack of innovation and shows gameplay restriction. So when this YouTube artist brought this up, they kind of had a point, especially if you've played games like Oblivion. You must have ignored the talk button at the bottom of the screen. Who cares? The point is, I should be able to do whatever I want in an open world environment. You're restricting my gameplay freedom. That's what makes it fun, and the fact that it's yours, it's your environment to traverse and explore and fight in any way you want, and do whatever you want within that game's limitations. It's yours to explore. When you restrict, such as Skyrim, yes, there are NPCs you can't kill or even touch. There are things you can't do, and a lack of dialogue options and choices. Even lesser RPG mechanics than that or its predecessors, making it more streamlined for a larger audience. So when this restriction hits a game like Skyrim, people to this day question its Game of the Year awards, or especially Fallout 4. That game lets you do multiple gameplay choices in its environment, not acknowledged by the community, critically panned. Yet this game that restricts you the same way Skyrim did. You can't do whatever you want. The game will punish you for it. The difference is that Skyrim doesn't even give you the chance. Elden Ring punishes you for even trying. Both examples are examples of gameplay restriction. He didn't attack him on accident. It doesn't matter whether it was an accident or not. He should be able to hit them. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the point. Gameplay freedom. That's the point. How is this open world if it restricts what you do in an open world? Whatever you want, except here you're restricted to it being a linear action RPG instead. So it's limited in that sense that it doesn't work like other open worlds, so it's restricted. You had to do specific occurrences in a specific manner just to play the game correctly. That's boring. You might want to do it in a way you make it because it's an open world game. That just shows you the amount of restriction in Elden Ring, as it's not a traditional open world game. It doesn't let you do these things. It doesn't give you that level of freedom.
He even says,
"Do you even comprehend the gravity of this choice?"
No.
bruh, you ignored his dialogue. He's straight up like, "Are you sure you want to continue attacking me?" "Yes, you do. All right, gonna have to teach you a lesson."
Respawn, finally get away. See this big thing, horse, minotaur looking thing, kills me one hit. All right, I respawn right in front of the guy who kills me. I'm like, how is this fun? How is this fun?
So you die to this guy a few more times before figuring out how to run away, and then you run straight towards the giant fuck-off golden knight on a horse, and you're surprised that he's hostile too.
And there's supposed to be a lock-on system, but my guy decides to just start swinging wildly.
Tell me you're not making this video without knowing how to lock on. I've never seen someone invalidate their own opinions as a game critic so effortlessly. So we can assume that he ignored everything in the tutorial because the tutorial teaches you how to lock on. You couldn't even Google this like, there's supposed to be a lock-on system. Consult Dr. Google.
And there's supposed to be a lock-on system, but my guy decides to just start swinging wildly. I point the camera back at him, it gives me a light lock-on, and he starts swinging wildly. I'm like, the guy moves, and I'm still swinging wildly. I'm like, how is... I don't care what anybody says. Oh, you gotta do this. Oh.
Press in on the right stick. Don't attack that guy. Sneak past the big horse.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Like, homie, you can't just ignore literally everything the game is trying to tell you and then blame the game. Like, how does a guy who has hundreds of games on his shelves not understand the concept of a non-hostile NPC?
These games are not enjoyable. Yes, I get there are people out there that like it, and this game is not a 10 out of 10. Nowhere near, even if in its wildest dreams.
Dude, just like, make a new guy. You couldn't have been more than 10 minutes in. Make a new guy and just don't attack him. But nope. He gave up right there. Like, imagine posting a review without even killing a single enemy in a Souls game, or learning how to lock on. Yes, this is it. This is his review of the game.
This is one of the most wretched things in terms of accessibility and gameplay, and just...
He must have been sitting there just like, why did that guy I stabbed start swinging back? Could you imagine inviting this guy over to play Smash Bros. And he's like, why are you attacking me? It's a fighting game! Allow me to show you the cherry on the cake, the piece de resistance, to cap off this video.
This is not a good game. It is not a 10 out of 10, not even if it wanted to. I can't wait for Gran Turismo.
And next up on the Elden Ring Clown Show is a rabbit hole I can't be bothered to go into. Apparently this guy Quantum TV made an Elden Ring review that he later deleted. People saw it was filled with terrible takes and made fun of it, like you do on the internet. One of these videos happened to be from a 17-year-old British guy named Mischief, and his response video triggered Quantum TV so far off the edge that he threatened to copyright strike a minor in a different country for criticizing him. This also led to a bunch of other YouTubers picking up the story, which led to Quantum making more videos and justifying his insane takes that you're about to see. It's like a rabbit hole we don't even want to go down, but I want to give a shout out to Mischief. His link will be in the description. Go check him out and subscribe. Pretty good content for his age, I gotta say, but it's real scary if you're a small content creator and you're just being threatened with copyright strikes. It's such like a dick move to do, so give that guy some support, alright?
Today I'll be giving you guys a review of Elden Ring. Essentially, don't buy this game. The name of the game should not be called Elden Ring. The name of the game should be called You Die. Again and again and again.
I suppose if you never get good, then yeah, you'll keep dying.
Because that's all you're really going to spend most of your time doing. You're going to die because the game has no easy difficulty. The difficulty spikes when you get to certain bosses. It's so unfair that you'll find yourself spending so many hours losing time away from your life. So I would say this game is for somebody who really is looking for a sandbox. They have no family, no friends, no life, and they have literally thousands of hours to grind away.
Why? This is a game made for people without families. Fuck you, orphans. You probably... I can't understand why this guy was getting flack.
They have no family, no friends, no life.
You are maidenless.
Where do you come up with this? Do you just get out of bed in the morning and you're like, I'm gonna be a fucking asshole today.
When you die, you lose everything you collected. Everything. That means you start over, so leveling up is extremely hard because of the nature of the game and its difficulty level, and it's not fun. There's nothing fun about this game for somebody who is new to the franchise.
And that's kind of the crux of the issue, right? This is what I try to do when I criticize a game or a series that I'm not all that familiar with. I'm much softer about my criticisms. Have an understanding that there's fans that know more about this series than you do, so make it clear you're coming from an outsider perspective and maybe try not to flame the audience, you know, because maybe you want your own audience to grow, and if you're being an asshole, it might be kind of hard, Quantum. Just some food for thought.
And then you look at the graphic style. It's a joke. It is literally a joke. I don't understand, like, who they made this game for, where, like, you want low frame rates, but that for me, that's a massive deal breaker. I'm a massive motion buff, and to do something like that is unacceptable.
Complaining about the frame rate is a valid criticism. Should that be, like, the biggest factor in your review? Probably not, but I'll give that to you.
most of your time in the open world is spent just like running around kind of aimlessly, if I'm being honest. It's one of those games where like it's so spread out, the map is so big, you're going to spend a lot of time running around in a very open field that doesn't necessarily have a particular purpose for being that open.
You're gonna spend a lot of time running around a very open field. What's that? You said it's an open world game?
It's very interesting that the person in question brings up the difficulty loop. Yes, a difficulty option. Me personally, I love Dark Souls. I respect how hard it is, however, I don't mind there being a difficulty option. I have discussed this with many people in the Souls community, and they are relentless about this, saying it would break the sacred hold of what Dark Souls is. Some even admitted that it would be pretty cool, it wouldn't be a big deal. So I fail to see what the big deal about a difficulty option is. There's nothing wrong with it, and quite frankly, it can improve gameplay and make you better at the game over time. Most of the time, you're going to spend time around a huge open field or environment that doesn't have a particular purpose. I actually agree with this statement. The reason why is because when you traverse the open world environment, it has a huge environment that doesn't serve a particular purpose. Instead, you are left fighting enemies and bosses in it. So you are traveling around trying to find something to do most of the time. It's not going to tell you, and it really doesn't need to, because it's apparent when you first arrive. When you arrive at the open world environment of Elden Ring, you're doing the exact same thing you do in a linear action game the entire time. So it begs the question, what was really the point of this game even being open world? Is this open world? Maybe it's more open-ended, but that doesn't make it an open world game. If you can't even do open world things in its environment, you're really just fighting.
What's an open world game again?
I'd like there to be a purpose to almost everything, like everything is interactable and things like that, but it just doesn't feel like that.
The game is very interactable. You can roll into just about everything. You can blend in with the scenery around you using a particular item. Certain landscapes will actually be destroyed throughout a boss fight. The game is very interactable.
What's that you said? It's an open world game? Yes, Ackman. Oh my freaking goodness, yes. It's supposedly, people say it's open world. Well, how? When you're in this open environment, but you're just fighting and doing action RPG things only, exclusively, how is that open world? Open world games like Assassin's Creed or Skyrim let you interact with the game's world environment. So how is it open world again? Just because of the size of the map, it's what you do in that map that counts. I like things to have a purpose. Almost everything is interactable. I could completely understand this. Now, not every solitary thing needs to be interactable, but the environment, the open world environment, should be interactable. And it's not in Elden Ring. If anything, it punishes you for even trying to interact with its environment, like if you kill a random NPC. But aside from just that, what environmental interactivity is in Elden Ring? In Skyrim, you can even start a home. You could have a family. Go on quests with people, see NPCs, and see their daily routines. It's immersive. It's incredible. Nothing like this is an Elden Ring, but they claim that this is an open world game just because of the size of its map. Okay, Shadow of Mordor has a large map, but people don't call that open world. It's technically a linear action game. It's just a more open-ended environment. Just because something has an open environment doesn't make it open world. What makes it open world is what you can do in that environment. If you just fight most of the time, that's no different from a linear action game. So it might as well be linear at that point. This game is very interactable. You could just roll around objects destroying them. Really? Ackman, just stop. That's the same thing you could do in Dark Souls 1. Plus, why would you compare some obscure pointless feature like this to actual dialogue options or meeting NPCs, going on quests with people, making a home, out of materials you found, or starting a homestead, exploring these huge environments with elaborate quest lines that have choices you could even change the outcome to? That's environmental interactivity, or interacting with interiors and exteriors, taking down objects and making things happen in the environment, not rolling and ooh, it destroys a barrel or box or crate. That's dumb. That's nothing. That's barely any kind of real interactivity. Come on, that's a poor example. Blending in with the scenery is a gameplay mechanic in Assassin's Creed. In Assassin's Creed, you can blend in with your surroundings, thus hiding from guards. That's interacting with their environment right there. This is just a gameplay item. I'm talking about a gameplay mechanic, not a gameplay item. Really, it's interactable. You go ahead, explain how interactable it is. What did you express? The fact that you can roll into an object and destroy it? Whoa! So much environmental interactivity. It's mind-blowing. That's your point? Really? So you didn't even prove the point to be untrue. You didn't. There is no evidence that Elden Ring allows environmental interactivity, at least not that you proved. Rolling into an object, really? And that was in the first Dark Souls anyway. One is a gameplay mechanic, the other is a game item. That's not the same thing. In Assassin's Creed, you blend in with the environment. It's not only great environmental interactivity, but it's an actual gameplay mechanic, so there is no comparison. So you, again, use the most extreme example of everyone who doesn't like Elden Ring is not just trying to thrash the game. Some people don't like it, and From Software fans and many people have a hard time accepting that fact. That people don't all find the game all that special or revolutionary. And when this is stated for whatever reason, they lash out. All because someone doesn't like the game. That's the main point. You don't like the game, so why don't you like the game? Oh, because of this and that, so on and so. What is wrong with feeling this way towards a game, regardless of how popular it may be?
It sounds like you haven't played it much.
And I think without spoiling any parts of the story, which is lackluster by the way, I think that will be as honest as anyone's going to be about this product. I don't know who they made it for.
Who did they make Elden Ring for? It couldn't possibly be the 12 million people that bought it within 3 weeks.
Again, I couldn't speak lowly enough about this game. I don't recommend it, and I think if you're smart, you'll just play something else.
If I can find something good to say about Call of Duty Ghosts and Call of Duty Vanguard, there's hope for everything. Find something good to say.
That's the review. Take it or leave it.
Okay, so that was pretty terrible. But guess what? Part 2.
Oh boy.
Oh boy!
So as you guys know, I did a review on Elden Ring. That didn't go very well apparently for some people.
Yeah, you can say that again.
So I'm receiving some backlash now that I wanted to address with some of you because
How much you want to bet this guy is going to deflect why he's getting backlash?
a lot of you are not only being childish, but I don't think you're actually seeing this objectively. You see, every single Dark Souls fan watching this video right now had to die 1,000,001 times to learn how to play that game. Using that experience and laterally jumping over into Elden Ring, you're able to, again, experience that level of challenge, but it's not as hard because you've already done something similar before.
Honestly, I think I'm hot shit every time a new FromSoft game comes out. And I get my ass kicked again and again. Even when Demon's Souls Remake came out, a game I'd already beaten before, it still kicked my ass. And that's what I love about the games. They always find a way to surprise you.
But you see, somebody like me, I've never played Elden Ring. I've never played Dark Souls. I didn't even know Elden Ring was a part of the Dark Souls series. And you know what I met with when I talk about flaws with the series? The same thing I met with the TV world, where when you mention a problem with something, fans of that series just damage control it. They'll say stupid, petty, chisty, catty, childish shit, like, oh, you've lost credibility because you've spoke your mind, you gave your opinion, you now have no credibility with me.
No, I think you lose credibility when you talk about things that you don't really understand. And you try to pass it off as, like, fact, or, you know, when you say things like,
Okay, bye bitch, I don't give a fuck. The reality is, that's my opinion, based off of playing it as a new person. They have no easy mode. The graphics are dog shit.
what do you mean? No single product on the planet can be made for everyone. I don't know why people use ultimatum statements like this. It's like, it always goes back to the accessibility thing, like, maybe you just don't enjoy this thing and you should get over it. I can live with the knowledge that tampon advertisements don't target me. They don't sell me on tampons. I feel left out of the tampon industry. And that's an industry I really want to get into because I'm such a pussy. And I want every single thing on the planet to revolve around me. I think that might be one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
Games are supposed to be fun, transcend the reality that we have right now, take you to new worlds, give you new abilities, you're allowed to do things that you never ever could do in the real world without consequence, and be accessible to anyone regardless of experience level.
Like when people like this say every game should be made for everyone, it's like, okay, so why the fuck do we have a rating system then? Because not every game is made for everyone.
Because the reality is, if it wasn't so ridiculously hard and you had the thrill of dying a bunch of times, it's really a lackluster game with shitty graphics. Again, I'm new to the franchise, had no idea what it is, and then...
The problem is you're new to the franchise, yet you act like your opinions are far more important than everyone else's. It's like, no, your opinions are less important. That's what we're trying to tell you.
Now, I might not agree with everything these people stated about Elden Ring. Some of what you hear, you might not agree to hear such things. And I understand, however, some of what is stated here I don't agree with, and have my own personal issues with the game and flaws and problems. So yeah, everyone has their own perspective on this game, and the Act-Man chose to have these people be the full representation of how everyone automatically feels about the game. That's just not true and inaccurate. That's not how every person who dislikes this game feels. Okay, so what? What this person is saying is so over the top and ridiculous. Oh, the graphics are garbage. Now I'm not going there. However, what you said was equally as foolish. Oh, your opinion is less important than ours because we played it more and know it better. Okay, a new fan can come in and learn the game and its mechanics, so that's a flawed analogy right off the bat. But then it shows a sense of, I'm better than you because I played it more, so I know it better. Someone even tried to do this to me with The Last of Us 2. I beat The Last of Us game, the first one, almost on Grounded. I beat it on survival mode and played most of it, Grounded, and beat it multiple times. I loved it. It's a masterpiece. However, he said he knew more about its sequel, more because, oh, look at me, I platinum trophied the game, so my knowledge is superior. No, he just had a different experience. To put yourself above others because you play more of the game is flawed and shows that you have the mentality of, oh, I play more, therefore my opinion is way more important. What's important is what you're saying, not the fact that, oh, I'm more important because I played more. That's overconfidence, and it's just pointless and unnecessary. People have their own perspective on this game. The main point being, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Who cares? That's the point. Why add all this other nonsense in it? Ooh, I'm superior because such and such. That's pointless. I will admit that the video is pretty funny. I don't agree with your assessment of Elden Ring. Furthermore, I don't agree with how you represent every person who dislikes Elden Ring by using the most extreme example. Why? Everyone who dislikes this game or critiques harshly or just critiques it in general is not acting this way, so why use this as the crutch, the ultimate example of how everyone feels about this game, or how everyone who doesn't like this game feels about this game? It's so wrong.
Of course, when you go to the community as a new gamer, you would think, right, as a gamer, you'd have people being welcoming. I had maybe 5 people in the whole comment thread. Like, hey man, you know, let's do those bosses together, I'll help you out. You know, only 5 people. The rest of them were like, oh, you're a clown, you've lost credibility, it's demeaning.
You would think people would be welcoming. I only told them that if you like this game, you probably don't have any friends or family. Why don't you like me? You pieces of shit, you're supposed to like me. Well, how are your people skills so bad? You don't know that, like, hey, insulting people doesn't make friends. You insult them after you become friends.
Because you're new to a game that's known, by the way, for being incredibly fucking difficult. And it's your fault, not the dev's fault for not thinking of every single player of all kinds of walks of life. They don't care.
They don't care about you. This game isn't for you. Not every game should be made for everyone. He's the type of guy that, you know those dudes when they're talking to a woman and they're like, wow, I think you're so pretty and hot, and they reject him and he's like, fuck you, bitch, you're so ugly, I hate you. It's like, this is how they deal with not being included or not being accepted by people or a community or someone. It's that, like, rejection of, like, I didn't like you anyways. I didn't want to be a part of this community. And so they just, like, self-sabotage.
It's a challenge, and it has to be for players who think every game is fucking easy, and if you aren't one of those players, then you are a scumbag, you filthy casual.
I'm not saying you have to. I personally don't even care, but to say that it would ruin Dark Souls and Elden Ring is so untrue. I don't agree with that. It would be separate. Every player would have the option to return Dark Souls or Elden Ring to the main difficulty. That makes them love it. So why does it matter? It doesn't interfere with someone else choosing their own difficulty. So I don't understand how this is a problem. But again, that's beside the point. They always bring that up. I don't agree. I just don't. I played Souls for years. I love that shit. And when I played Dark Souls, I didn't care whether it had a difficulty option or not. I just fought through it. I played it and loved it. And if it did, I would mostly stick to the normal difficulty, but I wouldn't have a problem trying it out, or other people who have a hard time with them trying it out. I wouldn't care. I'd just keep playing it the same way again, reiterating the point that one doesn't interfere with the other. You enjoying your own difficulty option shouldn't interfere with someone else sticking to the hardest difficulty option. I've had so many debates about this with From Software fans, and if you want to debate about it, just like they currently want to debate about The Last of Us, alright then. However, I don't agree with that. I just don't. You're basically faulting someone for thinking who cares when it comes to difficulty options. It doesn't matter. Because me playing the hardest difficulty doesn't affect someone playing an easier one. It doesn't matter. And I don't agree with that. Now, yes, again, he used some of the most extreme examples, and it is annoying that he paints this as the representation of the Elden Ring dislike discourse. However, he did say something else that I actually agree with, though. Some of them say things I understand where they're coming from gaming-wise, such as, this game doesn't really break the mold of any open-world game. No, it doesn't. This game is not revolutionary. It didn't do anything different with its open-world design in comparison to other games. So yes, these examples are extreme and over the top. However, some points mentioned are actually valid, such as glitches, issues, and boss design errors. You might hear someone online say crazy stuff, but in between they might make a good point. And in comparison to other open worlds, what does Elden Ring do that makes it unique, different, and amazing in comparison to these? If anything, it's quite simplistic in its open world design in comparison. You just fight. It's like a fun little linear action game. If you love Dark Souls, you'll probably enjoy Elden Ring. To say it's revolutionary, or to say it's a revolutionary open world because of this fact is definitely overkill. You have to at least admit this, From Software fans, that you overblew this game to the highest level. I found a critique of Elden Ring recently, and he overblew every aspect of the game, making it sound like it broke gaming conventions. Come on! Oh my goodness, what about Elden Ring? Please, someone in the comments, explain to me these things. Number one, what makes the open world environment unique from all others? Let me guess, is it because it went against the Ubisoft formula? Please elaborate. Number two, what makes this game so revolutionary? What did it do that defied all gaming conventions? Please explain this to me, because it's Dark Souls again, but now it's more open. Suddenly that makes it revolutionary? Please explain. Number three, in comparison to other open world titles, how is Elden Ring open world when it doesn't let you do what you do in an open world game? It only lets you do what you do in a linear action game. Yes, the environment is more open, but you're still doing the same thing you do in a linear action game.
Is important. Like so. Elden Ring's graphics are complete fucking trash and I wipe my ass with them. Versus, I wasn't the biggest fan of the graphics and style. Two sentences saying the same thing, but which one do you hate more? Right? There's a difference between, like, matter of fact, like, this animation is broken, and I think the graphics are bad. I think that. You get what I'm saying? Language, people.
And the thing that really pisses me off is all these fucking fans of this game know that the graphical issues are there. They'll try to say it's okay or it's passable. It's shit. Be honest.
The stuttering problems, I played the game despite that because the game was so good. Is it bad? Yes. Did it stop me from playing the game? No.
When you look at the gameplay itself, it's clunky. The controls are shitty for a new person just getting in. I don't know how it is for you.
Controls are shitty if you're a new person to any game. You have to learn the controls, man. It's not a fucking flight simulator. The controls are hard, bro. There's only so many buttons on the controller. Like, just learn it.
But then, even if you are a vet, you're still gonna die a bunch of times, right? You are.
That's true.
The way they made the game is so that the way the boss hits you, it takes so much of your life away. That's very frustrating.
Level up vigor.
But let me just give you a little personal insight as to how I like to game.
Enlighten me.
I come home from work, I'm trying to unwind, I'm trying to relax. I'm not trying to sit there stressed out on some fucking game, yelling at the screen, trying to hashtag
Get good.
because that's like this mentality that all you guys have kind of gotten submitted into. You guys literally sound like abuse victims, right? Like you're in a really shitty relationship and that's just how it is, man. You know, you just take it on the chin, man. It's how it is.
You sound like abuse victims. What a kind thing to say, dude. Oh, what's that? You like a video game? You fucking abuse victim? I bet your girlfriend slaps your nutsack at night while you're sleeping, just to fuck with you, because you like Elden Ring.
You shouldn't be saying that's how it is, or, you know, we just know that that's how these games are. It's not for everyone. A game that's not for everyone isn't a game that should be made, in my opinion.
A game that is not for everyone is a game that shouldn't be made, in my opinion. Call of Duty? Oh, no, those are gone. That's gone. Those aren't for kids. Halo Reach, rated M. That's gone. Fable? Oh, no, kids are playing that. Bioshock, that's gone. Mass Effect, sex and that. Dragon Age sucks. Tales of Vesperia, rated T, not for everyone. Modern Warfare, you're gone. Dragon Ball Z, oh, there's violence in that, not made for everyone. Fighting game, Infinite Warfare, yeah, that's made for nobody. Advanced Warfare, that's made for even less people. Oh, God, getting rid of all of this. All this. No more games. None of these are made for every single person on the planet. Gotta get rid of everything. Everything burns.
A game that's not for everyone isn't a game that should be made, in my opinion.
Ackman's comments that he keeps showing in the video. Here's the problem with this. He's showing either the most extreme examples of things that don't even matter, like the UI. Okay, the UI in Skyrim is better than Oblivion. Do I care? No, that's not a huge gameplay flaw. You might mention it, you know, but when you might mention it, but when you really get down to it, you're focusing on real issues with the game, the meat, and instead he represents everybody that has an issue with Elden Ring, like, ooh, it's shitty UI. Ooh, it's trashy interface, like that really matters. So he paints people who have a problem with Elden Ring in the falsest light possible, and it's wrong, way off, and makes the video come across as overly biased towards Elden Ring. At least bring up legitimate points and flaws and issues people have actually brought to the table about the game. Case in point. There was a YouTube video called Elden Ring Has Bad Boss Design, expressing the fundamental issues with the game's boss design, or people who have just expressed fundamental issues with the game in general. That's a more accurate representation of people who don't like the game or have issues with the game, not just people who said, ooh, the UI was shitty. That's not an accurate representation. Bring up better examples.
At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man.
Why am I still getting hate?
I can see why you deleted this video. I can't understand why you posted it in the first place.
I'm not gonna sit here and be demeaned and talked down to because I don't enjoy a shit fest of a game that
You're on the internet. You're on the internet, Quantum TV. People are gonna not like you.
where your misunderstanding is. But hopefully by explaining this to you, I can maybe kind of smooth out your aggression and your backlash. Again, nothing against you. It's not a personal attack. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. If you like what you like, but it is childish to look at somebody and say that, you're X, Y, and Z because you don't like the video game I like. It doesn't run that deep for me. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. It's a fucking game, and at the end of the day, it's a trash game. It's gonna stay on the shelf, and I stand by what I said 100%. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. I don't recommend it, and I think anyone who bought that game, frankly, likes a challenge. You're one of those diehard players. But for most people, it's not recommended. And that's the video.
Okay, that was terrible.
We're gonna start with the good stuff. Elden Ring can be purchased at places like Amazon and really most online retailers and returned. That's a silver lining. And the best thing about this game.
He made a part 3 video.
Hold on to your butts.
Now here's what I'll say to prove that the game is terrible.
Oh, he's gonna prove it. Prove it!
But essentially it all resorts back to the same thing. You do not need an easy mode. or any kind of easier mode, or even a normal difficulty option. You know what? Screw difficulty options altogether. The game is designed to be ultra hard, ultra challenging. That's the purpose of the game. If you give it a difficulty option, all you're doing is destroying the game, and there's no point in playing it. You know what that means, guys? That means this is a dumpster fire. Just toss it in the trash.
I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to point to this video I did about difficulty options in Souls games, but I'm gonna continue doing it as long as dumbasses keep reiterating their same stupid points. Games can be made with multiple difficulty options in mind, or only one. It's up to the developer's intent. I don't see anybody talking shit about the original Super Mario Brothers. You move and jump. 2 buttons and a D-pad. It doesn't get much more accessible than that. But oh no, the original Super Mario Brothers doesn't have a difficulty option. It's so inaccessible to me. I can't play this. It's trash. Throw it in the trash.
Let's talk graphics. The game was delayed 4 years, right?
The game was delayed for 4 years? I'm raising an eyebrow to that one. Actually, the game was only delayed for a month.
So that was a fucking lie.
This game doesn't really break the mold of any open world game that has ever existed. It doesn't.
It absolutely does, because From Software has successfully taken their more linear, enclosed areas and transitioned that formula to an open world seamlessly, better than most other current open world games to date. It absolutely succeeds and excels as an open world title.
There are no cinematic cutscenes that like razzle and dazzle and break the mold, while also offering a super challenging experience.
No! What the fuck?
And I do want to bring this next part into attention. The game has a toxic player base.
This is where they always go. They flame the player base and then get flack, and they're like, well, this is evidence that they're toxic. I just told this fan base that the only reason you like this game is because you don't have friends or family.
No. You didn't hear that right. The game has a cult-like toxic player base. What does this mean? This means that the players of Elden Ring are likened to people who would rather drink blood from a cup than your neighbor next door. They are very weird people.
You're weird for liking this game. Maybe your experience with these people has something to do with what you've said to them.
At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. And I stand by what I said 100%. If you Google Quantum TV right now, or you look Quantum TV up on YouTube, rather, you'll see a string of attack videos because of my opinion of the review that I issued out. In addition to the fact that when approached by what they call commentary, which is essentially gamers of a certain tier level that like to illegally download people's videos, re-upload them, and smack talk over them to own their review talking points, they call it fair use.
That's all, folks. Bro, you can download videos off YouTube. It's not illegal.
They don't care how much of the video they're using. They completely ignore the 4 factors of fair use used and publicly broadcasted on YouTube.
I don't know how someone could research fair use so much and still not understand what it is. You can critique someone's points and reviews. It's the whole fucking point of fair use. If I don't like a movie, I need to be able to show clips of the movie that I don't like. And if I don't like your video, I should be able to show clips of your video that I don't like. It's fair use. So this guy is like arguing copyright law in his Elden Ring review. He's become so detached from the actual game and mechanics that he's just going after people that are criticizing him. How is this a review? Why don't you think about like what you're making before you make it?
And a lot of these smaller channels, 200 subscribers, 400 subscribers, 4,000 subscribers, that tier of lower YouTuber will steal videos. It's a known thing. It's a huge problem. YouTube doesn't do anything about it. And if you tell them not to do that, they'll just say anything is fair use.
Oh, this tier of lower YouTubers, I'm gonna talk down to you because my penis is like 10 times smaller than yours, Mischief. Sorry. You seem to put a lot of importance on the validity of people's arguments based on their subscriber count. How many subs do I have again?
Over the years, I've had to learn the hard way that you can't just talk over somebody else's content, pausing and playing it, calling it fair use. That is not fair use.
You absolutely can if you add constructive feedback to the video itself. If you transform the work beyond what it was originally posted as. That is absolutely fair use. I've seen Osmongold react to videos of mine, and he has genuinely good feedback to my video and elaborates further on the points that I make. That should be a medium that is encouraged, not censored, right?
I'm just here, like, reviewing a game once. Let me say that again. All the negative press you've seen on me is because I reviewed a game once, didn't like it, some 16-year-old kid picked it up, can't sum it up enough. The game is trash, the community is trash, outside of 1%. Ultimately speaking, the game is, like, literally a 0 out of a 10 to me. I could not possibly rate it the worst score I could possibly give it. I would light it on fire on camera if I still had it. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. You guys literally sound like abuse victims, right? And I stand by what I said 100%. But at the end of the day, Elden Ring is really quite genuinely, unobjectively, and objectively a bad game. It is. It doesn't do anything new. Be creative, FromSoft. Start welcoming players. Start doing something outside of saying get
Don't
good.
listen to this guy.
Maybe
don't
then
listen
you'll
to
get
anything
my
he
dollars,
says
but
from Soft.
until
Ignore him.
that point
Ignore
happens,
him. He's
enjoy
done. He's
all the
stupid. Don't
other
listen to
millions
him.
of
Blah
sales
blah
that you
blah
had
blah
from
blah.
other players
Blah blah
that
blah blah
would
blah
rather
blah
be
blah. You're
involved
not
in the
hearing what he's
community.
saying. Blah blah blah
That's
blah
all
blah.
no game of the year, no real champion, just bare minimum. When real next-gen games come out, you'll be a footnote in a couple of months. Nobody will even talk about this game, ever even mention it when we talk about the greats of this generation. That is a fact when the next generation cycle is said and done. Don't forget it, and remember I said it on this day, because these are hard facts that nobody's going to spit, but pretty much me, so...
You serious?
Yeah, so my advice is if you're reviewing a game, keep it about the game and don't just like go out of your way to flame the audience. Maybe try to come into it like, hey, I don't really know so much about these games. This is how it appears to me. These are the problems I have with it. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? Oh, I am? Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll give it another try. Maybe just like be a rational human being. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content.
So how exactly is that open world? Please answer these questions, please, in the comments, since Firm Software fans are already out with the pitchforks and everything. So here's the thing. I know about the Quantum TV and Ackman thing. I'm only focusing on just the game. If someone says something I don't agree with about the game, I'll say it. If someone says something I do agree with about the game, I'll say it. Now, he brought up multiple people, and they each had things to say about the game. Some I didn't agree with. Some I did. Some I even pointed out myself. Really, that was it. I'm just focusing on the game. Not that kind of drama, just making that clear to everyone. And yes, the Ackman would use the most extreme examples, falsely representing the people who dislike the game, or don't like the game, or have issues with the game, or critiques, as if this is the community. When he is painting a picture for you, it's not accurate. Everyone who dislikes or has an issue with Elden Ring is not doing what he's showing you. That is a false representation to make the other side of the argument look a certain way on purpose, to make his side look more valid. Is such a huge mishandling of information, quite frankly. Just like the Last of Us 2 fans who attacked me for stating the fact that I thought the story was a little one-sided, and made false claims about what I said, when all I said was, hey, I have some issues with this. I might not know every aspect, but for what I do know, here are those problems. I made that clear in the video. And they thrashed me anyway. It's ridiculous. And yet I've seen the cutscenes and I beat the original game. Then Firm Software fans are so hardcore about their love for Elden Ring that they are so extreme. The same way Ackman makes people who don't like the game look extreme, or shows the most extreme people, while I've dealt with extreme people who love this game so much they can't take a differing opinion about it. That's life. You need to accept the fact that not everyone finds this game groundbreaking. Why can't you accept that? You can't accept when people don't feel the same way about a game that you do? Oh, they flame the player base. Okay, but I'm not flaming the player base. They flame people for critiquing the game. That's what I'm saying. They do it quite often, all because people don't like Elden Ring Who cares? It's a perspective. It's someone's opinion, assessment, or analysis based off of what they played and or experienced from the game. People are not all going to hop on the bandwagon every time a new game comes out. So this is what I'm laying down. The Ackman's Elden Ring Hot Takes video. This is my response, and this is what I'm laying down. And this was Tarragon. And thank you for watching.